Hello, I'm Darren Magee and welcome to my Mental Health Information and Awareness channel. Now today's topic is looking at emotional incest, sometimes referred to as covert incest. Now if you like this video, please click the like button and please check out my other videos on mental health related topics and please consider subscribing to my channel. Now first of all, emotional incest is not sexual. It's when the parent looks to the child for emotional support, reassurance, treats them more like an adult, more like a partner than a child. They look for some kind of conversation, validation that you'd normally look for in an adult. And I think it's important to differentiate between emotional incest and a close relationship between a parent and a child. And a parent and a child can have a very close relationship, but there is still a clear recognition of the child's development, their needs, and the need for appropriate boundaries. Emotional incest has been described as unboundaried bonding by analyst and author Marion Woodman. The parent uses the child as a mirror to support their needs rather than mirroring the child to support the child in their development. And the nature of this relationship is a result of the parent prioritizing their own needs over that of the child. Now, there are different reasons it occurs. The parent may be unwilling or unable to have or maintain a relationship with another adult. They may feel lonely, isolated. The other partner may be unavailable, say through death, divorce, or other kind of separation. That parent themselves may have something going on with them where they are constantly dissatisfied with their partner, say, dissatisfied with life in general. It can also be because there's an addiction of some kind, such as alcoholism or other substance misuse. There could be bereavement or separation, as I say, divorce perhaps. But after a while, as the parent comes to terms with whatever that loss is, things begin to revert back to a more appropriate parent-child relationship. There are, however, times when that emotional incest has always been there on some level, and that's what we're going to be focusing on today. So regardless of the reason, what happens is the parent pushes that emotional role of the partner onto the child. What happens is the child's needs are ignored. The relationship between them focuses solely on the emotional needs of the parent. And now, due to lack of insight, emotional depth, or self-awareness, that parent may not be aware of or even understand the effect that this has on the child, their development, the child's ability to socialize appropriately with others. Now, Kenneth Adams, who originated the concept, described the effect of emotional incest on the children as them having low self-esteem, anger or guilt, or both towards the parent, problems with addiction, and problems with both sexual and emotional intimacy when in adulthood. Now, I think it's fair to say that some people may share something they find annoying about their other partner, another sibling, whatever, somebody in work. They may feel regret over something. There may be something troubling them, and they may share these with the kids from time to time, but they don't necessarily overshare, or they don't necessarily expect the child to fix it or to make things better for them. With emotional incest, there are a lot of inappropriate expectations placed on the child. There's unnecessary sharing of thoughts, feelings, sexual experiences even, and validation seeking from the child. The expectation being that the child has to meet their unmet emotional needs. Now, some examples of emotional incest may include the parent wanting the child to constantly praise them and thank them. Now, whether that's praise for their caregiving, gifts they've received, meals that have been cooked, it could be praise for how the parent looks, their hairstyle, clothes they wear, that new job they got, whatever. Sometimes it is praise for just being them, for having a wonderful personality. That parent's ego is constantly hungry to be fed. Now, if it's at home, for example, in front of, say, an estranged partner, a lot of the time it is to evoke some kind of, say, jealousy or guilt on the estranged partner's part. Look how much this child loves me more than you. When it is publicly, it's so that everyone gets to see how much they are loved by their children. And this need to feel special, that is more important than the child's feelings. This need for constant praise, now I'd say, would be quite common with narcissism. However, it can also be present with low self-esteem, low self-confidence, the need to be constantly reassured that they are the most important thing in the child's life. So the child learns to always put the needs of the parent before their own. Then there's putting the child into the role of best friend. And this is where a lot of boundary issues occur. Expectations, responsibilities, discipline, they're all affected here. The child is treated more like a confidant and isn't really capable of, say, problem solving or advising in a way that an adult can, but they try their best through their own frame of reference. just to support the parent. Sometimes they learn to tell the parent what the parent wants to hear. Which leads me on to another form of emotional incest, asking the child for advice on adult issues, for example, in relationships with others, sexual feelings, difficulties the partner may be having with finances with another partner. If you will, they put the child into the role of therapist. The child has to come to the rescue in any kind of emotional crisis, things that are not appropriate for a child to know, never mind think about or give advice on. The child is put into a role of responsibility for either having to listen to, validate, or problem solve for the parent. Now, I've mentioned a lack of boundaries, a lack of appropriate boundaries in this kind of relationship. And this could also involve not allowing the child any privacy, invading their personal space. If they're in the shower, in the bathroom, parent just walks in for a chat even. Constantly keeping tabs on the child, interrogating them over their relationships with their friends, their school friends, their siblings, the other parent, teachers, and so on. It wouldn't be uncommon for there to be an element of jealousy around the child's relationships with others. There may even be attempts to sabotage the child's romantic relationships as they get older. The parent may compete for attention. No one will ever be good enough for the child. And in cases of difficult separations, things like divorce and so on, this kind of relationship can often lead to parental alienation between the child and the other parent. When a parent relies on a child for companionship, reassurance, validation, advice, and support through emotional turmoil, of course, there's going to be an effect on the child. And more often than not, it continues into adult. Now, some of those ways it continues can be constantly people-pleasing, putting everyone else's needs in front of their own, low self-esteem, low assertiveness, difficulties forming or maintaining healthy, mutually supportive relationships, and they can at times have poor relationships with themselves. So that is a brief outline of emotional incest. There is a lot to cover, and I'm sure I've left a lot of things out. Please feel free to use the comment box below for anything you might like to share. I do like reading your comments and some of the interesting discussions which can come up. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to my channel for future updates on mental health related topics. And until next time, thanks for watching.